Hello there, folks. My name is Spoonks, and I saw Dune Part 2, and I actually loved it. This may surprise a lot of you, as I was not a big fan of the first Dune. I don't think it's a horrible movie by any means, but I thought it was just okay. To put it simply, I thought the first half was much better than the second half, but really, I can see why so many people love that first one a lot. And I wanted to go into this with an open mind. The trailers did look a bit better, and fans of the original Dune books have said time and time again that the second part of Dune is vastly better than the first part of Dune. And boy, were they right, as this sequel, in my opinion, was a big improvement over the first Dune. Once again, I surprisingly loved this movie. First off, the story here is a vast improvement over the first one. My problem with the first story was that I felt it was a bit more top heavy. Again, the first half was a lot stronger than the second half. I found the second half to just be one really long, extended chase sequence, in my opinion, that just dragged on and went on forever. Just really didn't improve upon that point. But this one really was strong and solid the whole way through. I love the additions of the world building, seeing all of these different clans, this vast world of Dune, exploring these new cultures and regions. And like many have said, there is a lot in this movie. It's a very long movie, but in my opinion, it never felt that long for the most part. We'll discuss that a bit later, but there's so much more at stake here. There's a lot more reveals and twists that caught my attention, and I was very invested and engaged in what was going on throughout the whole movie, really. The characters have also vastly improved from the original. I felt that a lot of the characters in the original were just pretty bland and unremarkable. Unfortunately, I just didn't care for a lot of them in the last movie, really. But here, they have so much more personality. Their dynamics and chemistry with one another is solid, and given how much is going on, they're given so much more to do here, and you see much more of their personality and growth and character development unfold here, and it makes them all much more likable and charming. The standouts for me were, of course, Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya. They have a great chemistry and dynamic with each other, and their performances were excellent. Rebecca Ferguson really stood out to me. What her character does in this movie, she does way more than I think the trailers lead you to believe, and certainly I liked where she goes and her character ends up here than in the last movie. I'm curious to see where this goes in Dune Messiah, which is rumored to be happening in the future, maybe. And then, of course, Austin Butler, who is a freak, and I mean that in the best way possible. He's so evil and menacing, and I just loved every time he was on the screen. He was chewing up the scenery, and I honestly hope he can play more roles like this, more just weird, evil little freaks. I know that's so weird to say, but I really enjoyed his performance here. This film is also a visual masterpiece. This has pretty much been carried over from the first film, but also in many ways improved upon, which I didn't think it was even possible. This is a $190 million movie, and for once, it actually feels that way. The special effects, the world design, and everything about the special effects looks marvelous. It looks stunning, beautiful. Obviously, you need to see this on the biggest screen possible to get that sense of woe and awe at the marvelous visual and special effects here, especially when Paul rides the sandworm for the first time. It is one of the most visually stunning and beautiful moments already, and we're only in March. And my last positive is the action sequences here. There's a lot more smaller hand-to-hand fist combat moments here, but I don't think that detracts from how well done the action sequences here, especially those smaller hand-to-hand combat sequences. They're fast, they're quick, well choreographed, and have an energy that gets you really invested in the fight. And as for like the other big spectacle action sequences, they are visual marvel. Like I said, special effects are monumentous, but once again, like how they're staged, how they're choreographed, and how they're all put together, it's just marvelous. Especially that final big action spectacle sequence, it's just a visual marvel once again. I would go into it a bit more, but seeing how it's like the last big action sequence, I kind of want you all to see it for yourselves. But trust me when I say it's one of the best big final battles I have seen in a movie in a long time. But unfortunately, there are a couple of issues I have with this movie, and when I mean a couple, I really only mean a couple, but they still affected the movie for me. First off, like with the first one, I did start to feel the length of the film at a certain point. It's not to the point where I'm like, oh my god, is this movie gonna end? But there's times where the movie slows down a bit too much, and I think that maybe if they sped it up a bit more, then I felt like, the movie would have been a bit tighter, especially in the first half. Some scenes went on a bit too long or moved too slow for my liking. And then there's the comedy. I'm not going to say it's horrible or anything, as I did laugh here and there. I chuckled certain amount of times, but I don't know. I felt like some of the comedy was a bit forced and a bit awkwardly put here. Again, it's not the worst in the world per se, but I don't know. Maybe just make the jokes a bit better in the other one, or just stick with this serious tone. In my opinion, just to make things feel more natural. But this is probably just a me thing, as I know a lot of people thought this movie was pretty funny, but just to me, I feel like some of the comedy was just a bit if you get what I mean. But outside of those issues, once again, as for someone who does not care for the first Dune all that much, I really, really liked this movie. This is already a contender for one of the best, if not the best, film of the year. And once again, we are only in March. The story and characters are vastly improved from the original, as there's a lot more to these characters and so much more at stake with the story. I was much more invested with the story here, and I like the characters a lot more here than the first one. The visual and special effects are stunning, and the action sequences are a ton of fun and exciting. I don't know what else to say that hasn't been said already about this movie. It's pretty much a cultural defining film in a lot of ways. Definitely go see this movie at the theater on the biggest screen possible, so you get the full experience of this masterpiece. I can't believe I'm saying that once again, but yeah, I highly recommend going check this movie out. As someone who did not care about the first one, this was a lot of fun and a great, much better movie in my opinion. And those were my thoughts on Dune Part 2. What did you all think of it? If you've seen it, did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links at the end of the video. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.
It's tough to be a god, bred where mortals have not trod. Be deified when really you're a sham. Be an object of devotion